Life has a way of unraveling in an instant. One moment, you feel anchored, secure. The next, it's as though the ground beneath you has crumbled to dust. And now, here I am, 32 years old, sitting in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house in Dallas, surrounded by remnants of my youth, faded posters on the walls, a cluttered desk filled with forgotten trinkets. I can't help but let out a dry, bitter laugh at the irony of it all. I'm Olivia, and this isn't the life I envisioned. I never thought I'd find myself back in this room, digging through old memories while trying to untangle the choices that led me here. It all started with Daniel. We met at a housewarming party Rachel threw. She had just moved into a cozy townhouse, the kind I'd always dreamed of having someday. When I walked in, I felt this unwelcome surge of jealousy. It wasn't just the lovely decor or the welcoming feel of the house. It was everything. Rachel had built a successful career, a fiancé who adored her, a future perfectly mapped out. And then there was me, still single, worn down by the endless cycle of dating apps and shallow conversations, starting to believe I'd never find someone who really connected with me. That's when I saw him. Daniel was standing apart from the crowd, tall, with dark hair, and a quiet confidence that drew people in. But it wasn't his physical presence that caught my attention. It was how he listened. He wasn't just waiting for his turn to speak. He was truly engaged, fully present. We spent hours talking that night. For the first time in a long time, something stirred inside me. Maybe, just maybe, I had finally met someone who could stay. And for a while, Daniel was everything I had hoped for: gentle, thoughtful, and genuinely kind. I felt safe with him in a way I never had before. Our relationship blossomed quickly, but it never felt rushed. Within a year, he proposed. A year later, we were married. It was everything I had once dreamed of: loving, dependable, steady. But that steadiness became the very thing I started to question. Somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing the beauty in it. I stopped seeing him. His patience, once comforting, started to feel dull. Little gestures like leaving notes in my lunch, or remembering how I liked my coffee, began to feel more like routine than romance. He wasn't the type to whisk me away on spontaneous trips or declare his love in grand gestures. He was the kind of man who showed up every single day without fail. And instead of valuing that, I let doubt creep in. Had I chosen comfort over passion? Settled for safety instead of spark? At first, those questions were just whispers, but eventually, they turned into a storm I couldn't ignore. Everything came to a head one night at a dinner party, just a small gathering of close friends, good food, good wine, and easy conversation. We were discussing relationships, debating whether love was about fate or timing. Someone asked how we know we've chosen the right partner. Without thinking, I laughed and said, honestly, if I had the chance to do it over, I probably wouldn't have married Daniel. The silence that followed was deafening. The laughter stopped. Conversation stalled. My stomach dropped as I turned to him. Daniel was sitting still, his expression unreadable, one hand tightening around his wine glass. Wow, he said quietly, his tone sharp enough to cut. That's good. Panic washed over me. I tried to backpedal, making it sound like a joke said in poor taste, but the damage had already been done. His eyes were different now, no longer warm but cold and distant. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. That night, he simply went to bed without saying another word. I convinced myself that we'd talk it out in the morning, that he'd forgive me like he always did. But when I woke up, his side of the bed was empty. His clothes were gone. His toothbrush was missing. Sitting on the nightstand was the harshest symbol of all: his wedding band, placed neatly next to a photo from our honeymoon. I stared at it, numb, trying to process the emptiness that had settled into the room. I called, but there was no answer. I texted, but received nothing. I clung to the hope that he just needed time, that he'd come back once the sting wore off. But days turned to weeks, and weeks turned into a month. That's when it finally hit me. He wasn't coming back. And what hurt the most wasn't just his absence. It was how easily he had let go. While I was still drowning in grief and guilt, Daniel had already started to move on. One afternoon as I was walking downtown, I spotted him at an outdoor cafe. He was smiling, laughing, sitting across from a woman who looked like everything I wasn't: graceful, self-assured, stunning. She radiated the kind of confidence that didn't beg for attention. And Daniel looked at her the way he used to look at me, like she was his whole world. A rush of emotions hit me. I wanted to run over and demand that he remember what we had, beg for a second chance. But I didn't, because deep down I knew he was gone. And even worse, I understood that I had never truly deserved him. Regret isn't loud. It doesn't come with fanfare. It's quiet, sneaking into the corners of your life until one day you realize you've ruined something precious. I had something extraordinary, and I let it slip through my fingers because I was too blinded by what I thought I was missing. Daniel didn't leave because he stopped loving me. He left because he had finally accepted that I would never love him the way he deserved. And now, sitting alone in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by remnants of a life that used to be, I'm suffocating under the weight of my own choices, wondering how I let it all come crashing down. They say you don't realize what you have until it's gone. But sometimes you do know. You just never imagine that you'll actually lose it.